The night sky above Siberia glowed an eerie purple as the first Draconian scout ship pierced Earth's atmosphere. Commander TaleHFY stood in the underground command center, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of radar screens. 20 years. In South Korea's military hadn't prepared him for this moment. Humanity's first contact with alien life. "Sir, unidentified objects entering Earth's atmosphere," reported Officer Kibiom, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Trajectory suggests Siberian touchdown in approximately 12 minutes. TaleHFY nodded calmly, though his heart raced. "Alert the Special Forces team. I want eyes on whatever comes out of those ships." Across the room, Communications Director Na Young was already coordinating with other defense agencies worldwide. What had started as strange deep space signals 3 weeks ago had escalated into full confirmation of an approaching alien fleet. The world's governments had agreed to keep this classified. No need for global panic until they understood the visitors' intentions. "Russian and Chinese teams are already in position," Na Young confirmed. "Captain Sunmi's squad is closest to the projected landing site." Miles away, Captain Sunmi signaled her team to hold position. The bitter Siberian wind cut through their thermal gear as they watched the alien craft descend through the clouds. Unlike the sleek flying saucers of old movies, the Draconian scout ship resembled a massive dragonfly, its metallic hull shimmering with strange symbols that seemed to pulse with inner light. "Maintain radio silence," Sunmi whispered into her comm unit. "Remember the plan. Observe only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary." The ship landed with surprising grace for its size, sending a plume of snow into the frigid air. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of escaping atmosphere, a panel slid open on the craft's side. Sunmi raised her binoculars. What emerged made her blood run cold. The Draconians stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in scales that shifted colors like oil on water. Their elongated heads featured 4 yellow eyes that darted in different directions independently. Most alarming were their clawed hands that carried what could only be weapons, sleek devices that hummed with blue energy. "Command, are you seeing this?" Sunmi whispered, her helmet camera transmitting everything back to headquarters. "Crystal clear," came TaleHFY's voice. "Count 4 hostiles. They appear to be setting up some kind of equipment." The aliens moved with military precision, setting up devices around their ship that began scanning the environment. One Draconian, with distinctive red markings across its chest, seemed to be in charge. It consulted a holographic display that projected from its wrist device. "They're taking soil samples," observed Jun Seo, the science officer on Sunmi's team, "and atmospheric readings." What happened next surprised everyone. The lead Draconian suddenly stiffened, turning its head toward the hidden humans. It made a series of clicking sounds to its companions, who immediately raised their weapons. "They've detected us somehow," Sunmi realized. "Team, prepare for possible contact." The Draconians spread out in a textbook search pattern. Their thermal vision technology, far superior to anything on Earth, had detected the faint heat signatures of the observation team despite their camouflage. "Captain, we should fall back," urged Sergeant Dong-hyun. "We're outgunned if those are weapons." Sunmi made a split-second decision that would later be studied in military academies worldwide. Instead of retreating, she stood and stepped into the clearing, hands raised. "This is either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever done," she muttered, her heart hammering against her ribs. The Draconians froze, all 4 eyes on each alien face focusing on the lone human. The leader approached, its scaled head tilting with what might have been curiosity. It raised its weapon, pointing it directly at Sunmi's chest. Back at command, TaleHFY watched in horror. "Get her out of there!" But before anyone could act, Sunmi smiled and slowly reached into her pocket. The Draconians tensed, but she simply withdrew a small metal object, a simple compass. She held it out, demonstrating how the needle moved. It was a gamble, showing the aliens that humans understood. Magnetism, a basic scientific principle. The lead Draconian hesitated, then lowered its weapon slightly. It produced a similar device from its utility belt, except this one levitated above its palm, spinning in perfect suspension. "They're showing off," chuckled Jun Seo through the typical first contact protocol. comparing technological achievements. The tension eased slightly, but everything changed when one of the junior Draconians approached its commander with a device that projected Earth's image. The hologram zoomed in, highlighting major cities, military installations, and resource deposits. The aliens weren't just exploring, they were scouting. Sunmi recognized the threat immediately. With a subtle hand signal, she alerted her hidden team. In one coordinated move, they emerged from cover, non-lethal electromagnetic pulse weapons. Raised. Now, she commanded. The specialized EMP devices fired, sending invisible waves that crashed into the aliens' technology. The Draconians' equipment sparked and died, including the devices on their armor. Caught by surprise, the aliens couldn't react before Sunmi's team had surrounded them. "Command, we have 4 extraterrestrial visitors contained," Sunmi reported, calmly. "Their technology appears temporarily disabled, requesting immediate transport and containment protocols." Within hours, the captured Draconians and their ship were transported to a secure facility beneath the Ural Mountains. Director Dae-sung, Earth's leading xenobiologist, arrived by hypersonic aircraft to begin studying both the aliens and their technology. "These aren't explorers," Dae-sung explained to Commander Tae-ho after initial analysis. "Their ship's database contains records of conquered worlds. Earth is just the next target on their list." Tae-ho looked through the one-way glass at the contained aliens. "Can we communicate with them?" "Their translation technology was damaged in the EMP blast, but we're making progress deciphering their language," Dae-sung replied. "What we do know is troubling. They're called Draconians, they dominate dozens of star systems, and they're just the advanced team." A junior analyst burst into the room, face pale. "Sir, deep space monitoring stations have detected a massive fleet entering our solar system. At current speeds, they'll reach Earth in 3 days. Tae-ho's expression hardened as he activated the global command channel. Leaders from every nation appeared on screen, their faces grave. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "we've captured the scouts. But the invasion fleet is coming. It's time to implement the Sentinel Protocol. Humanity needs to prepare for war." Across the globe, hidden defense systems designed for exactly this scenario began powering up. The Draconians had chosen Earth, expecting easy conquest. They had no idea what awaited them. 3 days after capturing the scout team, the skies above Earth darkened as thousands of Draconian warships entered the atmosphere. The massive vessels resembled ancient sea creatures, their metallic hulls gleaming with an oily rainbow sheen as they descended through the clouds. Each ship stretched nearly a mile long, casting enormous shadows over terrified cities below. General Jiho, Supreme Commander of the Draconian invasion force, stood on the bridge of his flagship. His scaled skin shimmered with pride markings, earned from 100 successful conquests across the galaxy. "Display the primitive resistance," Jiho ordered, his voice a rumbling hiss. The holographic display showed Earth's scattered military responses. Fighter jets scrambling from bases, naval vessels repositioning, ground troops mobilizing. The Draconian officers clicked their teeth in amusement. Such primitive technology posed no threat to their plasma cannons and gravity weapons. "Begin the standard conquest protocol," Jiho commanded. "Target their largest population centers first. They will surrender quickly once they understand resistance is futile." On the ground, Colonel Han Sol of the United Earth Defense Force watched the alien ships positioning themselves above major cities. Unlike the panicking civilians evacuating around him, Han Sol remained calm. The world's governments had been preparing for this moment since the scout ship's capture. "Status report on Operation Thunder Shield," Han Sol demanded, ducking into a hardened command bunker beneath Seoul. His second-in-command, Major Yu Jin, pulled up a global tactical display. "All EMP defense grids are powered and standing by, reverse-engineered. Shields are operational around primary military installations. Guerrilla strike teams are in position near all projected landing zones." Han Sol nodded grimly. "And the special weapon?" "Engineer Subin reports the prototype is ready, sir. Untested but ready." Above Tokyo, the first Draconian assault ship opened its massive bay doors. Hundreds of smaller attack craft poured out, resembling metallic insects as they swarmed toward the ground, their weapons charged, preparing to lay waste to the city below. That's when humanity revealed its first surprise. Hidden emplacements throughout the city activated, sending powerful electromagnetic pulses skyward. The Draconian fighters faltered mid-flight, their control systems disrupted by the unexpected attack. Dozens crashed into each other or plummeted to the empty streets below, their pilots shocked that these primitives had weapons capable of disabling their advanced technology. In orbit, General Jiho received the alarming reports. "Impossible," he snarled, smashing a clawed fist into his command console. "Their technological level should be at least 3 centuries behind this capability." His science officer, Lieutenant Do-Yun, analyzed the data. "The prisoners we lost, they must have reverse-engineered our technology. These humans adapt much faster than our intelligence suggested." Jiho's eyes narrowed. "No matter. Deploy the ground forces with hardened shielding. The bioweapons division will follow. These creatures may have a few surprises, but they cannot stand against the might of the Draconian Empire." In Washington, D.C., Engineer Subin made final adjustments to what looked like an ordinary satellite dish on the White House lawn. Around her, soldiers took defensive positions as Draconian dropships descended through the clouds. "Will it work?" asked a nervous general. Subin didn't look up from her calculations. "The science is sound. We adapted their own shield frequency modulation against them. If I'm right, their personal shields will not just fail, they'll implode." As the first wave of Draconian troops landed, they advanced with absolute confidence. 8-foot-tall reptilian soldiers marched forward in perfect formation, their armor gleaming, energy weapons humming with deadly power. They'd conquered 100 worlds with these same tactics. Subin waited until they were within range, then activated her device. The effect was immediate and devastating. The aliens' personal shields flickered, then collapsed inward with enough force to crush their armor. Entire platoons of invaders fell, their advanced protection turned into a death trap. "It worked!" Subin exclaimed, already packing up the prototype. "Get this design to all defense stations immediately." Similar scenes played out across the globe as humanity revealed its preparations. In Moscow, temperature control weapons froze Draconian troops whose reptilian biology couldn't handle the sudden cold. In Rio de Janeiro, sonic weapons disrupted the aliens' sensitive hearing organs. Each human defense was specifically designed to exploit weaknesses learned from the captured scouts. Back on his command ship, General Jiho watched in growing horror as casualty reports flooded in from around the planet. "This is unprecedented," he growled. "How are these mammals defeating our elite forces?" "Sir," his intelligence officer interrupted, "we've intercepted their communications. It appears they've been preparing for this scenario for decades." "What? Even before they knew we existed?" "They have thousands of theoretical defense plans against alien invasion. Their entertainment media is filled with scenarios exactly like this. They've been mentally preparing for centuries." Jiho stared at the tactical display showing red failure indicators spreading across Earth's surface. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar, doubt. In Seoul, Colonel Han Sol coordinated the counterattack. Reports from around the world showed the initial Draconian assault faltering against unexpected resistance. But he knew this was just the beginning. "They'll adapt to our countermeasures soon," he warned his commanders. "Prepare for Phase 2. Operation Hornet's Nest begins in 30 minutes. True to his prediction, the Draconians quickly adjusted their tactics. Their second wave deployed with modified shields and weapons. The easy victory they'd expected had transformed into a brutal ground war against a surprisingly capable enemy. What shocked the Draconian commanders most wasn't humanity's technology. It was their willingness to sacrifice. When alien forces overwhelmed a defensive position, humans would often destroy themselves and their equipment rather than allow capture. The concept was alien to Draconian military doctrine, which valued preservation of forces above all else. "These creatures fight like nothing we've encountered," reported Field Commander Bo Hyun to General Jiho. "They adapt to our tactics almost immediately. They display no fear. And their weapons, they're using our own technology against us, modified in ways our engineers didn't think possible." As night fell across the battlefields of Earth, both sides regrouped and assessed the first day's combat. The Draconians still held orbital superiority and vast technological advantages. But humanity had something the aliens hadn't counted on: the home field advantage, and a desperate will to survive. In the underground command center, Colonel Hansol addressed the Global Defense Council via secure hologram. "Day 1 is over," he announced. "We've bloodied their nose, but tomorrow they'll hit back harder. The real war begins now." Across the screens, leaders from every nation nodded grimly. Phase 1 had succeeded beyond expectations, but the Draconian armada still darkened the skies. Humanity's survival would depend on what happened next. Lieutenant Yejun crouched behind the remains of a shattered Draconian assault vehicle, its once gleaming hull now blackened and twisted. Around him, the rainforest outside Kuala Lumpur steamed in the morning heat. He lifted his field microscope to examine the scaled tissue sample he'd collected from a fallen alien soldier. "Command, are you seeing this?" he whispered into his comm unit. "The cellular breakdown is accelerating." Half a world away in the underground research facility beneath Geneva, Professor Yoon Ho studied the live feed from Yejun's microscope. Her eyes widened as she observed the rapid deterioration of the Draconian cells. "It's our bacteria," she confirmed, excitement creeping into her voice. "Earth's microorganisms are attacking their cellular structure. Their immune systems can't handle our planet's microbiome." This discovery explained the mysterious respiratory issues that had been spreading through the Draconian ground forces. The invaders, having evolved on a world with entirely different microbial life, had no natural defenses against Earth's countless microscopic organisms. "Keep collecting samples," Yunho instructed. "Every different environment might affect them differently. This could be the breakthrough we need." Yejun nodded, carefully sealing the specimen container. A sudden explosion rocked the jungle canopy above. Through gaps in the trees, he spotted Draconian fighter craft circling back for another bombing. "Run! Gotta move," he grunted, slinging his pack over his shoulder. "The lizards are getting desperate." The Draconians were indeed growing desperate. In their orbital command ship, General Ji Ho struggled to understand how his supposedly simple conquest was unraveling. Holographic displays showed Draconian forces retreating from battlefronts across the planet. "How is this possible?" he roared, his scales flushing angry crimson. "Their weapons are inferior, their numbers are smaller, their technology is primitive." His medical officer, a slim Draconian with specialized breathing apparatus, stepped forward hesitantly. "General, we've identified another problem. Our troops are succumbing to indigenous microorganisms. Their respiratory systems are failing after prolonged exposure to Earth's atmosphere." Jiho's 4 eyes blinked in disbelief. "You mean they're dying from breathing the air?" "Not just the air, sir. The water, the soil, everything on this planet contains life forms toxic to our biology. Our environmental suits were designed for known threats, not this cornucopia of microscopic predators." In a secret manufacturing facility beneath the ruins of Detroit, engineers Minho and Yuna worked feverishly to perfect their latest creation. The capture of intact Draconian weapons had provided humanity with technological leaps that would normally have taken decades to achieve. "The power coupling is still overheating," Minho muttered, adjusting a component in the disassembled alien rifle on his workbench. "If we route the energy through this superconducting alloy instead..." Yuna looked up from her own work, a modified Draconian energy shield adapted for human use. "Try using their cooling gel as a base, but add our nanopolymer to stabilize. Their tech relies on perfect environmental conditions that don't exist naturally on Earth." This improvisation was happening in workshops around the world. Humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to modify, to improve upon existing designs, was proving to be their secret weapon against the Draconians' technological superiority. "We've got it," Minho exclaimed as the weapon powered up, its energy signature now stable. "This modified version uses 30% less power and delivers twice the impact force." Yuna grinned, already packaging the prototype for immediate distribution to frontline troops. "The lizards won't know what hit them." On the battlefield outside what remained of Shanghai, Draconian officer Gi Won couldn't believe what he was seeing. His troops, equipped with the finest battle armor in the galaxy, were being picked off by human snipers using modified Draconian. "Weapons, fall back to defensive position Delta," he ordered, his translator converting his clicks and hisses into the local language. "Atmospheric support incoming." But as his troops retreated, they encountered another human innovation: autonomous. Combat drones built from scavenged Draconian parts. The small agile machines darted between buildings, targeting the weak points in alien armor that only humans had thought to exploit. Ji-won opened a direct channel to General Ji-ho. "Sir, request immediate extraction. The humans, they're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They show no fear. They sacrifice themselves to gain tactical advantages, and they're learning our technology faster than our analysts thought possible." In the command ship, Ji-ho received dozens of similar reports from around the planet. What had begun as a standard conquest operation had descended into a nightmarish war of attrition against an enemy that refused to behave according to any predictable pattern. "What is wrong with these creatures?" he demanded of his xenopsychologist. "Why won't they surrender when defeat is inevitable?" The specialist, who had been studying intercepted human communications, looked troubled. "Sir, their entire history is filled with examples of smaller forces defeating technologically superior enemies through guerrilla tactics and adaptation. They glorify these victories in their culture. More troubling, they have imagined scenarios, exactly like our invasion, countless times in their entertainment media." "You mean they were prepared for us? Specifically us?" "Not specifically, sir, but they have been imagining and theorizing about alien invasions for centuries. They've mentally rehearsed this scenario thousands of times. In a strange way, they've been preparing for this moment since before they could even reach their own moon." In the flooded ruins of Mumbai, Professor Yun-ho waded through knee-deep water toward a makeshift laboratory where local scientists had made a critical discovery. The building shook as Draconian bombers roared overhead, their attacks growing increasingly erratic and desperate. "Show me what you've found," she said to the waiting research team. A scientist handed her a sealed container. Inside was a simple aerosol device filled with a cloudy liquid. "It's a weaponized probiotic," he explained. "Harmless to humans, but it accelerates the respiratory distress in Draconian biology. One spray and they're incapacitated within minutes." Yun-ho's eyes widened. "You've tested this?" "On 3 captured Draconians. All succumbed within 5 minutes of exposure. No recovery." She immediately opened a secure channel to the Global Defense Network. "This is Professor Yun-ho. Priority Alpha. We have a biological countermeasure ready for immediate deployment. Within hours, the formula was being mass-produced in pharmaceutical facilities worldwide. Delivery systems range from simple hand sprayers for close combat to modified crop-dusting aircraft for larger deployments." As night fell on the 7th day of the invasion, Draconian Commander Do-yun watched in horror as his troops began falling without any visible cause. Their environmental suits, hastily modified to protect against Earth's microbes, provided no defense against this targeted biological weapon. "We've lost contact with the Eastern Division," his communications officer reported. "Western and Southern, quadrants reporting 70% casualties with no enemy contact." Do-yun made the hardest decision of his military career. "Signal all remaining forces. Full retreat to orbital positions. This planet is not conquerable by conventional means." As Draconian ships began lifting off from Earth's surface, humanity allowed itself a moment of cautious celebration. But veteran commanders like Colonel Hansol knew the war was far from over. "They'll be back," he told his officers, as they watched alien vessels ascending through the clouds. "And next time, they'll be prepared for our defenses. We need to take the fight to them before they can regroup." The human counteroffensive was about to begin. The roar of engines filled the underground hangar as General Jin-woo walked between rows of fighter craft that didn't exist 2 weeks ago. Each sleek vessel combined human ingenuity with reverse-engineered Draconian technology, silver-blue hulls gleaming under harsh spotlights, weapon ports housing modified plasma cannons, and cockpits designed for human pilots rather than four-eyed. "Reptilian invaders. Beautiful, aren't they?" said Chief Engineer Haewon, pride evident in her voice. "We've improved their original design. Their ships prioritized armor over maneuverability. Ours are 20% faster and can pull turns that would kill their pilots." Jinwoo nodded, running his hand along one ship's smooth hull. "How many are ready?" 500 worldwide, another 1,000 in production. the Draconians made a critical mistake, leaving so much salvageable technology on our doorstep. Above them, through miles of rock and concrete, the Draconian fleet maintained orbital positions around Earth. Their initial ground invasion had failed spectacularly, but they still commanded the skies. Military analysts estimated they had enough firepower to glass the entire planet if they chose, but General Jin Woo was counting on them not making that choice. The Draconians hadn't come to destroy Earth. They had come to conquer it, to add its resources to their empire, and that gave humanity its opening. All squadron leaders report to the briefing room, Jin Woo announced over the facility's comms. Operation Rising Phoenix begins in 6 hours. In the medical wing of the same facility, Major Sumin checked the bandage on her arm, where a draconian energy weapon had scorched her during the battle for Seoul. Around her, dozens of soldiers prepared for the coming offensive, their faces grim but determined. "Nervous?" asked her second-in-command, Captain Tae-hwan, as he checked his modified assault rifle. Sumin shook her head. "Not nervous. Ready. The lizards think they've got us pinned down here, but they have no idea what's coming." In orbit, aboard the Draconian command vessel, Commander Do-yun reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing concern. Their ground invasion had cost them nearly 40% of their combat forces, with nothing to show for it. The humans had demonstrated an alarming ability to adapt to draconian technology and tactics. "Most troubling is their biological weapon," reported his science officer. "Analysis shows they've engineered a pathogen specifically targeting our respiratory systems using samples from our own troops. The humans are proving far more dangerous than our initial assessment indicated." Do-yun's scales rippled with frustration. "Recommendations? We maintain orbital superiority, continue bombardment of key military targets. When their resistance is sufficiently weakened, we can attempt a second ground assault with troops equipped with enhanced biological filters." The commander nodded slowly. "Prepare the kinetic bombardment platforms. Target their largest remaining military installations. We'll show these mammals the true meaning of..." A proximity alarm blared through the command deck, cutting him off mid-sentence. "Multiple objects launching from Earth's surface," shouted the sensor officer. "Count over 400 and rising." Do-yun stared in disbelief at the tactical display. Hundreds of small craft were rising through Earth's atmosphere, craft that matched no known human design. They moved with a speed and precision that should have been impossible for such a technologically primitive species. "Impossible," he whispered. "They couldn't have." But they had. Humanity had not only reverse-engineered draconian technology, they had improved upon it. Admiral Hyun Ki sat in the lead fighter of Earth's first space fleet, watching as the blue of Earth's atmosphere gave way to the star-filled blackness of space. Around him, hundreds of fighters moved in perfect formation, their pilots, the best from every nation, communicating through a neural interface system adapted from captured draconian helmets. "All wings report in," he commanded, his voice calm despite the momentous nature of this mission. Humanity's first space battle was about to begin. The squadron leaders confirmed their readiness as the Draconian fleet came into visual range, massive, cathedral-like ships that dwarfed Earth's fighters. But size wasn't everything in space. Combat, as the Draconians were about to learn. "Remember your training," Hyun Ki told his pilots. "Their ships are designed for long-range bombardment, not close-quarters dogfighting. Get in close, target their propulsion and weapon systems, then get clear before they can bring their main guns to bear." The human fighters accelerated to attack, speed splitting into precisely choreographed attack groups. The Draconian fleet, caught by surprise, scrambled to launch their own fighters. "Too late," muttered Hyun Ki, as his targeting computer locked onto a Draconian destroyer's engine housing. He squeezed the trigger, and a lance of blue-white energy, adapted from the alien's own weapons, streaked across the void. The impact was spectacular. The Draconian ship's shields flickered and failed against weapons calibrated specifically to overwhelm them. The engine housing erupted in a silent explosion of light and debris. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as Earth's fighters executed their attack runs with devastating efficiency. Draconian vessels, designed to inspire terror through size and firepower, proved vulnerable to swarms of smaller, more agile craft piloted by humans who had spent their lives training in aerial combat. On Earth, Dr. Jun Seo monitored the battle from a control center beneath the Himalayas. Alongside him, technicians operated the newly constructed orbital defense grid, a network of satellites armed with repurposed Draconian weapons. "The fleet has engaged," he reported to world leaders, gathered via holographic conference. "Orbital defenses standing by." As they watched, the tactical display showed Draconian ships attempting to reposition for a counterattack. Several broke formation, descending toward Earth's atmosphere, likely planning to resume the bombardment of ground targets. "Activate defense grid sectors 3 through 7, ordered General Jin Woo. The satellites came online, their targeting systems locking onto the approaching Draconian vessels. Beams of concentrated energy lanced upward from Earth, catching the alien ships in a deadly crossfire between the defense grid below and human fighters above. A Draconian cruiser, its hull breached in multiple sections, began listing as emergency. Systems failed. The massive vessel, nearly a kilometer long, drifted into a decaying orbit. On its bridge, Commander Do Yun watched in stunned disbelief as human fighters swarmed around his flagship, systematically disabling its weapons and propulsion. "How?" he demanded of no one in particular. "How have they mastered our technology so quickly?" His tactical officer, bleeding from a head wound as a console exploded nearby, looked up with grim understanding. "They didn't just copy our technology, sir. They improved it. These humans, they think differently than any species we've encountered." The battle lasted just over 3 hours. When it ended, the once mighty Draconian invasion fleet lay in ruins. Some ships had been destroyed outright, while others drifted powerless, their crews abandoning ship in escape pods. A few managed to activate their faster-than-light drives, fleeing the Earth system with news of the unprecedented defeat. Admiral Hyun Ki ordered his fighters to begin recovery operations, capturing damaged Draconian vessels for further study. As he guided his craft alongside a disabled alien cruiser, he opened a channel to Earth. "Phoenix Leader to command. The orbital battle is won. Earth's skies belong to humanity again." Across the planet, people emerged from shelters to see contrails and distant flashes of light in the daytime sky, the aftermath of humanity's first victory among the stars. But the war wasn't over. Deep space sensors detected a final Draconian mothership attempting to slip away, carrying what remained of their command structure. "Should we pursue?" asked Hyun Ki's executive officer. The admiral considered for a moment, then shook his head. "No. Let them prepare to jump. We have other plans for that ship." The massive Draconian mothership shuddered as its engines strained against Earth's gravitational pull. Commander Do Yun stood on the bridge, his scaled skin pale with fatigue and stress. Around him, surviving officers worked frantically to repair battle damage and prepare the quantum drive for the long journey home. "Status report," Do Yun demanded, his voice lacking its usual authoritative rumble. "Engines at 63% capacity," replied his chief engineer. "Weapons systems critically damaged. Life support stable but hull integrity compromised in sections 12 through 17. Do Yun stared at the holographic display showing Earth below, a beautiful blue sphere that had somehow become the graveyard of the most powerful invasion force in Draconian history. His 4 eyes blinked in different patterns, a sign of extreme distress in his species. "We must warn the Empire," he said finally. "These humans, they're unlike any species we've encountered. The High Command must know what happened here." The communications officer nodded, her clawed fingers working over the control surface. "Preparing quantum message beacon, signal will reach homeworld. In approximately—" Her words cut off as alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir, multiple craft approaching, configuration unknown." On the tactical display, 12 sleek vessels appeared, moving with impossible speed toward the mothership. They were unlike the fighters that had decimated the Draconian fleet earlier, larger, with distinctive wing configurations that resembled predatory birds. "Accelerate our departure," Do Yun ordered. "Direct all remaining power to engines and shields." Aboard the lead interceptor, communications officer Se Jin monitored the Draconian mothership's transmissions. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she worked to isolate and jam their frequencies. "I've got their signal," she reported to squadron leader Tamin. "They're attempting to broadcast a quantum message to their homeworld. Jamming now." Tamin nodded, his face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. "Good work. We can't let a single transmission escape. The element of surprise is humanity's greatest advantage for what comes next." The 12 interceptors, Earth's newest spacecraft built specifically for this mission, accelerated to attack formation. Unlike the fighters that had engaged the Draconian fleet earlier, these vessels carried experimental weapons designed by Earth's brightest minds working in round-the-clock shifts. "All craft arm quantum disruptors," Tamin ordered. "Target their communication array first, then engines. Remember, we want this ship disabled, not destroyed." The interceptors split into 3 groups, approaching the massive mothership from different vectors. The Draconian vessel, nearly 2 miles long, dwarfed the human craft. But size meant little in the vacuum of space, where agility and tactical innovation often determined the outcome of battle. On the mothership's bridge, Do-Yun watched with growing horror as the human vessels executed maneuvers his tacticians had deemed physically impossible. "They're too fast," his weapons officer reported. "Targeting systems can't lock on." The first wave of interceptors streaked past the mothership's bow, releasing concentrated pulses of energy that struck the ship's main communication array. The massive dish-shaped structure shattered, sending fragments spinning away into space. "Communication. Systems offline," shouted the panicked officer. "Quantum beacon destroyed." Do-Yun slammed his fist against his command chair. "Reroute through auxiliary systems. We must get word back to the Empire." But the humans had anticipated this move. The second wave of interceptors targeted the ship's secondary communication nodes with surgical precision, while the third group concentrated fire on the mothership's massive engines. Inside the ship, alarms blared as systems failed across all decks. Draconian crew members raced to battle stations, but their training had never prepared them for an enemy that adapted so quickly to their technology and tactics. A particularly powerful blast rocked the ship, throwing Do-Yun to the deck. When he regained his footing, the main view screen showed a horrifying sight. The quantum drive housing had been breached. Without it, there would be no faster than light. "Escape! All hands prepare for boarding defense," Do-Yun ordered. At least his warriors could die with honor, fighting these surprisingly formidable mammals face to face. But the expected boarding action never came. Instead, the human vessels maintained their distance, circling the crippled mothership like predators, toying with wounded prey. "Why don't they finish us?" wondered his second-in-command. The answer came moments later, when their sensors detected a massive energy buildup from Earth's surface. "Some kind of directed energy weapon," reported the science officer, voice trembling. "Power readings off the scale." From a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Junseo monitored the final phase of Operation Silent Fall. Around him, engineers and scientists watched tensely as the massive particle cannon, built using principles learned from captured Draconian technology, aligned with the mothership. "Target locked," reported the weapons officer. "Firing solution calculated." Junseo took a deep breath. The weapon they'd created was potentially the most powerful ever wielded by human hands. Its purpose was not just to destroy the Draconian mothership, but to ensure no trace remained that could tell the story of what happened at Earth. "Fire," he commanded softly. From the ocean's surface, a column of blinding white energy erupted skyward, parting clouds as it reached toward the stars. The interceptors scattered, pulling away from the mothership just seconds before the beam made contact. The impact was unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed in space. The mothership didn't simply explode. It seemed to fold in upon itself, as the particle beam disrupted the very atomic structure of its hull. For a brief moment, the massive vessel glowed with intense light, then collapsed into a cloud of rapidly expanding debris. "Direct hit," Junseo confirmed, his voice solemn. "No survivors detected. No intact systems capable of transmission." In orbit, Tamin watched the destruction through his ship's filtered viewports. The expanding cloud of dust and particles was all that remained of the Draconian command vessel, and with it, any chance for the alien empire to learn what had happened to their invasion force. "All craft, begin recovery operations," he ordered. "Collect any intact technology and materials for analysis. As Earth's defenders worked to gather the remnants of the Draconian fleet, scientists and military leaders already planned for the future. The invasion had cost millions of lives and devastated cities across the planet, but it had also united humanity as never before and accelerated technological development by centuries. 3 months later, in a restored United Nations Assembly Hall, world leaders gathered to commemorate the victory and announce the next phase of humanity's response to the Draconian threat. "The aliens came to our world expecting easy conquest," declared the Secretary-General. "None returned to tell their tale, but we know their empire still exists among the stars, unaware of what transpired here. They will wonder why their invasion force never returned. They may send another." She paused, looking over the assembled representatives from every nation on Earth. "That is why we will not wait. Using the technology we've recovered, we are building our own fleet, not just for defense, but to take the fight to the stars. The Draconians thought us primitive. They will learn that humanity is not to be underestimated." In shipyards across the planet and in newly established orbital facilities, the first true human starships took shape. Vessels designed not just with adapted alien technology, but improved by human innovation and creativity. The Draconian Empire, vast and powerful among the stars, continued to await word from their invasion force. They would wait forever. And when they finally encountered humans again, it would be humanity that brought the war to them. The end